I was at my first competition with the Nationals in Canberra, and I suggested that we have them at Albury, seeing as nobody in Canberra threw.
Yes.
And Albury was more central to everybody. So people were quite happy to do that, and plus the fact that we struck very bad weather in Canberra.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. The Meteorological Bureau said that Canberra was always windy, no matter what time of year, and that Albury was a much more consistent place for wind.
Now, when I was at Balmain, which was the first year I came up to Sydney, was the first time we received much media attention with the boomerangs, and we received a grant of $100 to make a film on boomerang throwing. Now, the little clips that we're showing here were the pieces of film that weren't used in that film. Sadly, that film got sent into the authorities, and it's the last that was ever seen of it. So these were boys that appeared on the film. You can see they became very proficient with their indoor boomerangs, with the small Maris made out of balsa wood. We used to have weekly competitions with these. I actually had one of those tables like the boys are sitting on, painted up with the scoring circles that we have at our competitions. I used to try and land them back there.
So it really was just an indoor version of the accuracy competition.
Yes. Plus also the catching and the fast catch. I think we even had doubling going. Yeah. Michael Brennan throwing left-hander. There's a couple of left-handers here.
It's probably the beauty of the indoor ones is you make them left or right-hander. You can throw either way.
That's right.
And the fact that if you do break them, they're so easy and cheap to make another one.
You can see that the veranda didn't provide too much space. This was one of the novel starts to our film that we had by changing the angle to something different. Down at Birchgrove Park, where we held the competition with the Americans, of course. Now this lad, Leo Sestato, was probably the best of our indoor throwers, and he used to practice for hours at home, and he would sit on a stool and be able to just flick them out and back, because he's got a very neat flicking action.
Yeah, even his catching style is very fluid, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. All part of our presentation. Called the film, of course, Boomerangs, Everybody's Sport.
That's right, because that's when the life be in it was really in, wasn't it? And
It was.
showing Norm as the slob and get out and do something.
Yes. This was a novel way to show how boomerang travels around, how we score. We had a pin on the back of the boomerang and a magnet under the paper. That way you can show the path of it. So Balmain was situated just near the Sydney Harbour Bridge.
And who shot most of this Super 8 footage?
Well, I've shot virtually all of the footage except for where I appear, and I think you may have shot some of that. And I know Les Janetzki did some filming of myself down at Hobbletree Park. This was just to show some of the different shapes of boomerangs coming up. There's a segment coming up where I explain about the different boomerangs and how you throw them and various guidelines.
Everybody say g'day. Everybody clap your hands. I'm gonna show you the way to do the boomerang. You put your hand in the air, take it back real slow. Now you turn to the side, and now you're getting ready to throw. You do the boom, 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 boom. You do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. You do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. You do the boomerang. Everybody say, g'day. Everybody clap your hands. I'm gonna show you the way to do the boomerang. You put your hand in the air, you take it back real slow. Now you turn to the side, and now you're getting ready to throw. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. You do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang. You do the boom, 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 boom. Do the boomerang, boomerang. You do the boom, boom, boomerang.
Here's the Janetzki brothers, and they're throwing down at Hoveltree Park. This was the very first film that I ever shot, so there might be a few blurry bits here and there as the camera goes in and out. Les has got the yellow hat on, and he's testing out boomerangs that he's made up before Arthur would then paint them up. He used to take them down the park twice a week, every Tuesday and every Saturday afternoon at 2:30. They'd be down there for an hour or so throw.
Well, they made these out of wooden Gestetner boxes, didn't they, mostly?
That's right, packing cases that would be normally thrown away. Les used to collect them. And he joined two pieces together, so they were, I think, a 4mm birch ply, and when he joined them, that'd make 8mm, of course. So he used to thin it down to about a 6 or a 7. Very painstaking work.
But they were absolute master craftsmen, weren't they? I mean, the painstaking effort that went into getting it just right.
Yes.
They would have been a fair age then too, wouldn't they?
Yes, well, to say this was 1978. Les was born December the 31st, 1900, and Arthur was born on the 6th of May, 1904. So they're both well in their 70s here. So I think about 78 and 74 years old between each of them. They used to always throw near this tree, which was a horrible prickly tree. I never knew why they didn't move over to another spot. And inevitably the boomerang would get carried through, and here's Les retrieving one from that prickly tree.
Gee, 70 years plus and up the tree.
78-year-old climbing through. And I used to get all prickles in me if I went up. Of course, when summertime was around, it's all covered in leaves, and it gets much harder to even see the boomerang. But they were gymnasts in their younger days too. Les actually won a prize down at St Kilda for gymnastics.
And a vaudeville act too.
Yes, both vaudeville people. But both of them used to wear a piece of wool on their finger that they'd hold up to get the wind direction.
I still do that. That's still my favourite way of testing the wind, particularly where it's changing a lot.
Despite the fact, that there's 4 years difference in their age, they were known as the twins. And you can see why, because they dressed in a very similar manner. They're about the same size, and you find that they do everything together. Even when one decides to change a boomerang, they tended both to go over and change boomerangs at their bag. Here's a bit of Les's filming. Not bad for the first time he's ever used a camera too. I think I'm about to throw his. This is a 3-foot boomerang that Les made, the biggest one I think that he ever made. There he is catching. That 4-blader he's catching is made by the famous Bluey Williams.
Right.
It was a... Oh, ouch. I feel that every time he tries to catch
Yes.
that one. That Bunny Reed six-bladed boomerang.
Oh, it's one of Bunny Reed's.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
And I think the thing that impressed everybody about these guys is they were just thorough gentlemen, weren't they?
They were.
Absolutely
Yes.
gentlemen the whole time.
You should never hear them say a nasty word
No.
about anyone. Now look, here's doubling being done long before we even had the Americans out here. And, Les showing that he can throw two together. Both quite good on the catching.
Yes. Nimble, agile and accurate.
Yes, they used to get me to test out their new boomerangs down at the park when I'd come down there. Someone that would throw a bit differently to them. Had a bit more youth on my side, a bit more strength. He is throwing in tandem, eh? The dynamic duo. Arthur might have a bit more success on this next round. Here we go, yes. Of course, in 1993, Arthur is now 89 years old and still throwing.
It's great, isn't it?
Yes, Les passed away at 86.
I'd like to tell you how to throw a boomerang. The usual boomerang that you probably know is that shape, but as you can see, boomerangs can be of many shapes and sizes. The shape doesn't matter, they all go the same, they all go around in a circle and come back. Now the method for throwing a boomerang, first of all you look at your boomerang and there's a flat side and there is a rounded side. The flat side must always be away from you. You may hold the boomerang either end it will work, and whichever end works the better for you, that's the end for you to throw. In throwing a boomerang you must impart as much spin to the boomerang as possible. So with the grips, the best grip for spin is to close your fist, place the boomerang between and to flick forward, imparting as much spin to that boomerang as possible. The more traditional way is to hold it inside the first finger at the end there. Don't hold it too far up because you can't turn the boomerang in your hand. So at the end and flick forward. Aim the boomerang at a spot just above the horizon. Throw your boomerang vertically or just lean over slightly. Do not throw it in a flat position because if you do, it will go up into the air, come down and crash and possibly on your head. When you're throwing your boomerang, come forward and release the boomerang when your arm is fully stretched forward. Do not release the boomerang here as it may tend to fly too high. One of the dangers of throwing from this end is that people often release it up into the air instead of out into the air, which is the way it must go. These are outdoor boomerangs. We also have indoor boomerangs, and these are very simply constructed of two pieces of balsa wood shaped off. We just hook them together with an elastic band, slide them over, and the principle of throwing them is just the same. We just flick it and around, imparting spin to the boomerang. Cut. Now you may make them a little bit larger. These are made from balsa wood, 1.5 millimetre in thickness, or 1/16 of an inch, and